Your life is boring because you have nothing going on for you. You go to work, you come home, you sleep and repeat. Maybe you need to do things to spice up your life. Hi everyone, and welcome to the One Way Ticket podcast. My name is Abby, I'm your host, and thank you so much for joining me today. The idea behind this podcast came when I went backpacking around Southeast Asia I think it was around 2 years ago. And I honestly met the most amazing people. I met people with incredible stories and people that had just incredible adventures and stories to share. People that decided to leave their lives behind and start a new life across the world. So I remember when I traveled back home, I used to tell my mom and my friends about this story, about these people, and everyone was like, oh my God, tell us more about them. And I was like, well, they have such amazing stories that I'm sure everybody wants to hear, and I'm sure they're gonna inspire so many people. The idea behind this podcast came as well because I feel like I'll talk about my journey as well from where I was to where I am now. So before I start rambling and talking, because I can talk, I love a good chat, and I've been left alone in this room, so I'm gonna be chit-chatting for sure. So before I get carried away, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my journey. If you're new to this podcast, or if you've just come across this episode for the first time, my name is Abby. I'm Spanish. I live in the UK, and growing up, I always had this desire to travel, to explore the world. It doesn't make any sense because no one in my family had it. Like, I used to always tell my parents, like my mom, about when I grow up, I want to study abroad. When I grow up, I want to live in this country. When I grow up, I want to do this. And my family were like, yeah, you can dream. Like, my mom was always like, whatever you set your mind to, you can accomplish. So long story short, when I was 18 years old, I decided to pack my suitcase and move to the UK. Now, I was 18 years old. I had no money, no experience. I couldn't even speak the language, guys. Like, I had to teach myself the language when I moved to the UK. Obviously, I could speak the basics that they teach us at school, like the grammar and vocabulary, but I couldn't talk. Funny story, I remember when I landed in the UK for the first time, I was supposed to stay with a friend. I was supposed to stay in a friend's house, right? And she was supposed to help me with like finding a job and settling down in the UK. So what happened is that I landed. I had no SIM card. I had no internet on my phone. I had nothing with me. I was 18 years old. It was the first time I was traveling alone as well. And I remember landing at Heathrow Airport, which is, I think, the biggest airport in the UK, one of the biggest airports in the UK. I've just arrived to a foreign country. I'm alone. I'm tired. I feel a little bit lost. And I remember I couldn't even call my friend to tell her where I was. And I wanted to ask for help. I remember opening my mouth to speak to someone, and I couldn't get words out of my mouth. That's how lost I was. What did I do in that moment? I did what I do every time I feel lost and I feel confused, which is I pray. And I remember I was at the airport and I literally couldn't get words out of my mouth to ask for help, to like literally tell someone that I am completely lost. I don't know where to go. I had no money. It was a mess. I remember there was a flight attendant that saw me. I think she must have seen that I was very lost. She came to speak to me. She was actually with her colleague. And she came to speak to me and she was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, I can't, like, I couldn't get words out of my mouth. And she was like, don't worry, where are you from? And I was like, I'm Spanish. And she was like, oh, I speak Spanish, don't worry. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So long story short, she managed to sort me out and I managed to get a taxi to get to my friend's house, because what happened is that my flight was very delayed. I don't even remember because this was 10 years ago, but I think my flight was delayed. My friends couldn't find me, so we ended up contacting my friends. They booked me a taxi to go home, but I know what it feels like to travel to another country, to feel extremely lost, to not speak the language, and to be like, where the hell am I? Have I made the right decision? That's how my journey started 10 years ago, guys. And now, fast forward 10 years down the line, I'm in Bali. A question I get asked a lot, even till this day in social media, is, Abby, how do you do it? Are you not scared? Are you not worried? I want to solo travel. I want to move to another country, but I just can't do it. I'm scared. Where do you get the courage from to do it? And the truth is, I've shared the story of how I got to the UK. I don't think it can get scarier than that. Being 18 years old, broke, no internet on your phone, being completely lost, not speaking the language. I was very scared. So the first time I did it, I was very scared. I'm not gonna come here and pretend that the first time I did it was perfect and it was smooth and it was, because it wasn't like that. However, I feel like every new thing you're gonna do in your life, whether it's booking a solo travel, moving to another city, or changing jobs, is always gonna feel scary, and it's supposed to feel scary. If everything we did always felt comfortable, first of all, life will be a little bit boring, and second of all, how are you supposed to grow if you're always doing the same? If you're always facing, your life is always smooth and you never nothing ever challenges you, then how are you supposed to grow? It's supposed to be scary. And I wanted to share another story. I've been traveling around the world on my own for the past 10 years, you name it. I've backpacked Eastern Europe, I've been to the States, I've been to different countries in Asia, I've been to Latin America. I did a big 3-month backpacking trip around Latin America. I've done Southeast Asia. I have traveled a lot alone, okay? I've traveled a lot solo. Despite all this, a couple of weeks ago, when I was at home in the UK, and I was still in the UK, okay, and I had made the decision to come to Bali, despite all this that I've shared now, I still felt very anxious about it. I felt anxious about the idea of coming to Bali. I gave myself a date. I was like, by this date, I want to be flying to Indonesia. And I remember one day, I literally woke up in the morning and I looked at my phone and I was like, it's exactly 3 weeks until I'm supposed to leave. I haven't booked my flights, but I can't get myself to book them. I feel a little bit anxious and I feel scared. And I don't know why I feel like this, because Indonesia and Bali is a place I've been to before. I fell in love with, literally my favorite country ever. But I still felt anxious and I still felt scared. And I feel like it's because it was still the unknown. It was uncertain. Like deciding to pack your bags and go somewhere else. I did come to Bali with the intention of leaving here. And even with all the experience that I had solo traveling, I still felt extremely anxious. I pray. So again, this is something I prayed about. I was like, God, if this is something that comes from you, if this is an idea that's come from you, then let it be and make me feel like, bring the peace that you always bring. And yeah, long story short, those feelings, I think a couple of days later, those feelings completely disappeared. I booked my flight to Indonesia. I literally booked my flight like 2 weeks before coming. Yeah, booked my flight and came. What do I want to tell you with this story is that it's supposed to feel scary. I won't get into details, but a couple of weeks ago, I was watching some videos on TikTok from a girl, and she made her whole personal brand was around her booking her first solo travel around Southeast Asia and Australia. And she was always uploading videos, like giving us an update, so telling us what new research she's done or what new activities she's booked or whatnot. And one day she posted a video saying that she felt very anxious and she decided to cancel part of her trip. And I remember when that happened, it happened on the same week that I also felt anxious about coming to Bali. I really wanted to tell her, I wanted to say, feeling like that is completely normal. It happens to the best of us. it really happens to the best of us. It's normal to have that little ooh before a big trip. I always say it's a bittersweet experience. It's sweet because you think about all the amazing things that are, that are around the corner, that are gonna be happening for you, but it can also be a little bit scary because again, it's the unknown. It's a big change. You're leaving your comfort zone. You're leaving home. You're leaving the place, the city where you've lived for the past years, and you feel comfortable because you're gonna have to make new friends. You're gonna have to sign up to a new gym. You're gonna have to find if you're moving to another country, you're going to have to find a new job or, new roommates. It's scary because it's subconsciously, even if you're not thinking about these things, that's what your subconscious mind is thinking about, all the new changes that are going to be happening. And it's normal to feel like that. But do you know what? What do you do when you feel that way? What's the best thing to do? Think about why are you feeling like that. It would be a good thing for you if you're new into traveling, to talk about this with someone. Please, this is very important, but only talk about this with someone that's done what you want to do. For example, if you want to go backpacking and you start to feel really anxious and scared before, like days or weeks before your trip, only talk about this with someone that's been where you are now, which means talk about this with a friend that's gone backpacking, or someone that's done a big trip. Why? Because they'll be able to advise you. They will be able to, they will know how you're feeling. What I find is sometimes when you share experiences like this with people that haven't experienced them, with your friends that haven't gone backpacking, they're going to put more ideas in your mind that what you're doing is wrong, and if you're feeling that way, you shouldn't do it. Back to what I was saying earlier. What do you do when you're feeling anxious before a trip? First of all, you're going to talk about it, possibly with someone that's already experienced what you're going to experience, okay? And number 2, if you don't have someone to talk to, this is why I created my podcast. There are so many online resources about solo travelers. Follow other travelers that inspire you. Doesn't have to be a podcast. It can be a YouTube channel. It can be a blogger. It can be a blog that you read weekly. It can be a movie about solo traveling. Watch things that are gonna make you fall in love again with your original idea. Okay? Stop watching horror stories about solo traveling. Stop watching people sharing story times about bad things that have happened to them, because those things are just gonna make you feel more anxious. What I do when I feel this way is to always go back to the beginning. And number 3, you remember that fear is always there to hold you back, which means that when you make a decision based on fear, so for example, you cancel this trip because you felt anxious and scared about it, you're gonna be in the same situation that you were before. You're not gonna grow. I don't want you to get confused between fear and your intuition. They're 2 completely different things. To me, my intuition, when my intuition or my gut feeling tells me that something is not right, it doesn't make me feel anxious and scared. It doesn't make me feel like that. In fact, every time I have a gut feeling about something, or my intuition is telling me something, it never comes from a place of anxiety. It's always when I'm peaceful and when I'm doing something it's very unrelated, but when I'm editing a video or editing photos, when I'm doing something that is very present and that makes me feel very present, and then I have a thought or an idea about something, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you shouldn't that. That's usually my intuition, and that's usually my gut feeling telling me something. Now, let's not confuse that with when you are actually feeling scared for no reason. Okay, so I feel like you all know what kind of fear I'm talking about here. This is a topic that we can discuss in a different episode. Let me know if this is something you would like to know more about. Back to my Bali trip, I ended up feeling like that. Those feelings completely disappeared. Okay, I just remembered that those feelings came from a place of you're gonna leave your home, which is your safe space. You're gonna leave your friends. You're going to be far, far away from your family. So all these things were subconsciously on my mind, okay? So what do you have to do? You have to weigh your situation. You have to be like, actually, yeah, you're going to be far from your family. You're going to be leaving your house. You're probably going to be living somewhere that's not even your home, if you're staying in a hostel or you're sharing a house with someone else. But you need to kind of balance the situation. Okay, fair enough. But then what is waiting for you on the other side? You're going to be living new experiences. You're going to be meeting amazing people. You're going to be visiting new countries, trying new food, having experiences that you always wanted to have. For me, for example, it's exploring the ocean. That's something that I've always dreamed about. Going to Latin America was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. You want to start a business and you share this idea with your friends that don't have an entrepreneurial spirit, and you go and share that you want to quit your job and start this business idea with them. What do you think they're going to tell you? They're going to say that it's difficult, that it's hard, that you're not going to be able to make it. I want you to come to the One Way Ticket podcast and feel like this is a safe space for you to come and hear stories from like-minded people from your community. I want you to find your tribe here. I also wanted to talk about something that is going to sound a bit contradictory, okay? But I think it's important to address this, okay? So I obviously travel a lot, right? Currently in Bali filming this podcast. And when I share online my life in Bali, when I share, me at the gym or finding a cute co-work to work from, or when I share fun things to do with my friends, I always get comments from people or messages from people telling me that I'm living the dream life, okay? And I get that message a lot. There's two things I want to address here. The first thing is, why do you feel like someone that is based somewhere else and doing certain things is living the best life? What does living your best life mean for you? And what is stopping you from doing the same? Don't compare your life with others, because you know what they say, that comparison is the thief of joy. That's actually true. So what do I want to say? What do I mean by this? When I received all these messages, especially lately, I've been receiving them a lot. Long story short, the idea of this podcast started obviously when I was in the UK and I filmed the trailer. It was filmed in London. I was here in Bali and I was editing a reel I made about that. And the reel was something like just a 20-something-year-old girlie building her dream life. And I was editing that literally this week. And I realised that all the clips that I was using on that video were from my life in the UK. Like, I hardly added any clips in Bali. What do I want to say by this is, you can create your dream life anywhere. You don't feel like you have to go somewhere else to live your best life. Don't feel like you have to travel somewhere else to live your best life and be happy, which goes back to purpose. So what's your purpose in life? When you place your joy or contentment or how you feel on travel and going to places all the time, then you're placing your purpose there. You're placing your identity there. If you're currently at home listening to this podcast and you're daydreaming about all the amazing places you want to go to, that's okay. Keep dreaming, keep daydreaming, keep planning, keep getting excited. There's nothing, I think that's beauty of life, right? Like that joy, that excitement, feel content and joy. You know the desires that you have in your heart, right? From you were a child. And maybe this is something we could talk about in a different podcast, but deep down what you should be doing now. Before coming to Bali, before backpacking, I was content with my life in the UK. One thing about me, and I'll say it here, you're never going to hear me say a bad thing about the UK. I will never say it, just because my life there was amazing. Fair enough, I'm Spanish. Yeah, the weather it's very different from Spain and the UK. I didn't come to Bali to escape my life from the UK. Okay? Doesn't make any sense. I'm Spanish. If I wanted to escape or leave my life in the UK, I would have just moved back to Spain. I literally have a house there. I have my family there. The cost of living is cheap. Like, I have a marketing agency. I literally work remotely. I could literally, if the purpose of me coming to Bali was to escape from my life in the UK, I would have moved back to Spain. but I haven't. Why not? Because I haven't come to Bali thinking that my life in the UK was horrible and I wanted to change. Absolutely not. I loved my life in the UK so much. Why? Because I wake up every morning and I choose to do something for myself, and I choose to work on my purpose, and I choose to work on those dreams and those desires that God has placed in my heart. And that's what I want you to take from today's episode. Choose to give the best version of yourself to the world. I promise you, life will start to make sense again. Doesn't matter if you're in rainy England, okay, or you are in sunny Bali, life will feel amazing again. Reasons why I came to Bali are because ever since I was a child, so even before Bali became trendy, I was always had this desire in my heart to live in a country in Asia. So I was actually going to go to the Philippines. And the only reason why I didn't decide to go to the Philippines is because I wanted to film this podcast. And obviously Bali has amazing, what's the word? In Bali, you can find top tier production teams. Like, it's honestly crazy how good the production teams are here. You can find podcasting studios like this, which you can find in the Philippines as well. But what I found is that it was mainly in the cities, in the big cities, rather than in the small islands. And I feel like in Bali, you can still have your island life whilst having the luxuries and your comfortable life of having really nice co-working spaces, really nice offices, beautiful production studios like this, high-speed internet. Okay, so yeah, as I said, I'm in Bali. The reason why I decided to come to Bali is because I had that desire to spend a season of my life abroad, in particularly in Asia, since I was a child. I really hope you found this very useful. I know I'm very chatty, and that's the reason I have a podcast, because I need someone to listen to me. So thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you found today's episode inspiring. I really hope that it inspired you to do something for yourself today. Remember, be content with your life now. I know traveling looks very glamorous and we all want to embark on amazing journeys and daydream about the amazing lives we think we're going to have, but it's also important to say, hey, this is my life now. What can I do to romanticize it? What can I do to spice up my life? Maybe you do need to go out a little bit more if you live in a place like the UK, and fair enough, the weather is not always helping, but maybe, okay, shall I organize a weekly meeting with my friends? That's something we do here in Bali. Every Friday, my Spanish girlfriends and we all come together to a cafe just to catch up. Maybe that's something you can do with your friends back home. So you don't have to spend any money. You can rotate between houses. That's something I did when I lived in the UK. Every Sunday, we used to have a lunch at one of my friends' houses. And every person used to bring like food, and then we would just come together and like catch up. Maybe you need to do things to spice up your life in the UK. The problem is that your life is boring because you have nothing going on for you. You go to work, you come home, you sleep and repeat. Now it's the time, okay, to find new hobbies, new things you can do from home, meet new people. That's all for today's episode. This is the One Way Ticket podcast. I'm your host, Abby. Thank you so much for watching.